Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. I am your host, Vince Edwards. You may know me from Sound Image Productions. Plus, we've got a couple closed roadie groups on Facebook, one called The Backstage Pass and another called Death by Loto. Come and check us out. This evening with me, my dear, dear good friend and co-host is back in the house. It's the one and only Kyle Thomas.
Vincent,
Kyle,
I'm back in the building.
We
You got to
missed you, buddy.
You got to deal with me for another week.
No, it's not like that. Listen, I had a great time with Bernie Broderick last week. He's one of my bestest friends
treat.
in the whole fucking world. He's fun and he's crazy. But this is your seat, and he was holding it down like a gentleman for you. And I believe he'll be back with us next week because you're going to run off and do some stuff. And what are you doing? Tell us about it.
I'm going out with I'm doing a system engineer gig for John Legend for a couple of months. So yeah, I'm happy that Bernie's able to be around and put up with you. I'll get a break.
You're not wrong. It is a tall order, and Bernie, he's Canadian, so they could deal with more than the average bear, and I need that because I'm a pain in the ass. Everybody knows that, but I do it all with love. Yeah.
I know, I'm just playing. For everybody out on the air, this is like one of the most loving, caring dudes in the world. Don't mind the desk. This is all facade. Don't piss him off, but he does care. He loves.
It's funny. We just said that I do it all with love, and I forgot in front of me it was like 25 knives and switchblades and brass knuckles and handcuffs. Yeah. I don't employ these that much.
You got some peace chimes in there in the front.
Well, that's all, when everything's going right, man.
Yeah.
Boom,
That's the first move
I try
usually.
to cover all the bases here. And then everybody's free time and everything's going good, we'll gamble. So,
That's right.
It's all good.
Vince,
Talk to us about your week, my brother.
So I see Diablo Digital is getting ready to send a rig out to Imagine Dragons. They're getting a nice little Pro Tools rig together.
They actually got it together, and I sent it out today. The folks came and collected it up. Apparently, Imagine Dragons wants to capture their shows on the very best Pro Tools rig available.
Oh, they couldn't have picked a better company, I'll tell you that.
No. And so Gregory came in, and Gregory Price, and he came in and built it up to their specifications, and of course, put on his special bit of flavor as he's known to do.
Yeah.
And the big truck came and got it today, and we pushed it out so they'd be covered and be able to capture what they're doing out there. I think they're out on one of our rigs. What are they out on? Are they out on the AL12 rig, a V rig?
I want to say that is an Adamson PA, but I could be mistaken.
Could be the Adamson. I thought, yes, we have multiple, but I'm not sure. I would just say, right on, Imagine Dragons, a great client. These guys, when they get on the road, they tend to stay for a minute. We did a thing with them a couple years back where they were literally out for a couple years on an AL12 rig. And, it went over perfect and had a great time, and apparently they did real good with it. So.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear you got some of those AL12 boxes coming down to our shop as well.
I'm excited about it. We're filling back in. We between the different sound image shops, we ship stuff off to where it needs to be, and we try to, have our foundational rigs in the house. And we're switching one out that we just sent away for an AL12 rig to come in and kind of take its place. And we have multiple rigs in here, as you know. And it's a hell of a rig. The AL12 rig is, you can put your foot on the gas in that thing, and it really stands up. It's a very quality rig, so we're happy to get it in and bring it back into the team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, View's been such a great company developing amazing new boxes, and their tech support is like all-star, almost an immediate response from them. So
yeah.
It's been really good to kind of balance it out and see the business. See, Mike's agreeing with me. He just had to deal with
Mike's over there waving the high sign. Mike, you son of a bitch.
So super good. I'm happy that things are working out with View, and they're sending some stuff down. We also got Billy Idol this weekend out at Oxbow River Stage.
Yeah.
I think it's Winston Dama and Mike Brown, a couple other Aaron Lancaster on patch, and I'm assuming I'm missing a few stagehands as well, but
I think maybe, but that's the core out there, and should be a really good show, big show.
Yeah, they've been doing a great job with that Anya rig. That's a very intensive system, and to be able to run fiber and have a redundant system over some cat cables is really amazing. They got it up and running the way they did. So
yeah, and it had been mothballed for a minute, and that's where I think some of the certain extra layer of complexity came to the task, and so it involves a lot of networking and special switching and so on. But man, when it's up and running, that thing it purrs. It is a very clean system, and it does special mitigation duties on certain venues that, you've got to be very mindful. You've got SBL issues and folks out there monitoring things very closely, and this system allows for that. So it gets dispatched to very specific places for very specific needs.
Yeah, and Bernie's done a great job over COVID and with this system kind of developing his boxes he calls TCMs, which is non-managed switches that have a little enclosure that stack on top of your PA on the rigging bar. And those are able to feed out either LK or Ethercon down to each box. Having it non-managed switches up in there with all the power dealt with, it's like a blessing.
That's a huge thing. Some other folks in the audience will understand what you just said. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Not having
totally.
You got 12 aside out there. You want non-managed switches. You don't want to be having to IP everything, and it just could get out of control quickly. This thing's very intuitive. It's very plug and play for the less initiated. So you can kind of, it's a good thing. And of course, the brain of the Broderick,
Well, you got to think something like that. I mean, and not to get too technical, but having it be a non-managed switch and have all the IR sensors to each box, not only vertically but horizontally, you can easily stack and locate boxes, super quick, super efficiently. So we're very blessed to have Bernie develop that and allow us to kind of showcase the TCM boxes.
Yeah. It's a universal. It has a more universal application, but with the Anya, it is really a home run. It really handles some issues and some rapid troubleshooting, say it was to come up, opposed to if you got something flown in the air and it was kind of, without those boxes, it could get tricky real quick and something goes down, something drops. If you have a daisy chain, me and Bernie kind of talked about this last week, but yeah, Burns, he is definitely the house genius, and you got to give it to him. So the TCMs are great.
Absolutely.
It's a Truth and Audio product. Truth and Audio, boom, check them out. If you're not knowing, you should know.
And, I'd like to thank last week's guest, Bobby Schneider. It was absolutely amazing.
No, last week's guest was Bernie Broderick.
Oh, I apologize.
Next week's guest is Bobby Schneider.
Next week, I apologize.
You'd know.
Running late again.
You would know. You did fine. Listen, there's a little confusion there, too. So sometimes, as you guys well know, come on, man. The people that I bring on the show, especially if they can show up in person, can't always make it on the aligned date.
See, that's what it is. See,
so some shit jumps up. Bobby Schneider is, he's Bobby Schneider, man. He's one of the premier production managers in the world. And he gets busy sometimes, and so we've pushed his show to next week. I had, very lucky because there's somebody that I love and adore that's on the show tonight that also happened to be working for us on one of our gigs. So this, you just mentioned the Billy Idol thing, and he was in the house, and we had him booked for something in the near future, and we just went, whoop, we just switched him around, and so we're in solid, we're in tall cotton right now because of that. But Bobby will be here next week, and I think Bernie will be sitting in your chair because, like you mentioned, he'll go off to John Legend. So we'll have Bernie over there, and we'll beat up on Bobby for a good solid hour.
Beautiful.
Bobby wants to come in and talk about his time with Metallica and Kendrick Lamar and all the other big ass acts that he's worked for. But he also wants to talk about proper mental maintenance, I guess you could say, in the industry. The stuff it takes to keep your head straight. Because, we've all been down that road where this job has gotten up on us and, kind of pulled us down and got real heavy. And Bobby's suffered from that just like anybody else. And I think he's found some ways to cope and deal with it that he's really happy about, and he wants to come on and share. So we're gonna do a little candy up front and a little medicine at the second half, and it should be an interesting show.
Oh, that's very cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
So you also told me to ask you what you've been reading, good sir.
Oh, well, I wanted to bring it up because I got a book called The Tour Book, which is right here in my hands, my fat little hands. This is a book by the wonderful Rachel Fenning Hales. She's an extraordinary gal, kind of a TM in her own right, has wrote this book. This book is featuring folks like, you probably know him as Opie, probably one of the top, if not the top, production managers in the business. He's extraordinary. Greg Price. It's a kind of a who's who. And the way it's laid out is really interesting. I'm probably about halfway through. I got my trusty Shure bookmarker in there, and I've been digging the shit out of it. And then I'm going to go on from this book. I'll tell you how it ends on the next show. And then I'm going to move on to Tana Douglas's book, Loud. Now, this is Tana Douglas, if you're not knowing. Tana Douglas is probably one of the first female roadies. She actually goes by that heading. She started out early. She's an Australian gal. Started out with the early days.
Oh, this is the
AC/DC.
girl that the book you can't get the hard copy, or there's something with her website where you can't get the hard copy. It's only in Australia, but you can get the digital one or something.
Right. And she sent me a copy of that, or actually her publisher sent me a copy of it. And so I went, after I finished this thing, which shouldn't be long, I'm going to jump into that. I've heard nothing but good things about it, and I'd like to have her on as a guest, and we've discussed that. But I want to read her book first. Read her book, then bring her on the show. She's a fascinating chick. She's done it all, and she's super cool, and should have some experiences and some stories to share with us. But until then, I highly recommend the book called Tour Book by the wonderful Rachel Fenning Hales. It's actually a good read. She's good with prose. She knows how to turn a page, and it's not bad.
Awesome. Well, cool, man. I'm looking forward. You gotta hand that book over when you're done. I'll skim through it, see if I enjoy it.
I will do exactly that. Yeah. And we got some stuff in the mail.
Oh yeah.
See these things right here?
All right, so we were very confused for a minute because
Which is
we all
a
got
relatively
tags.
normal situation we find ourselves in. But they say, what does that say, Mikey? It says, Beyond the Backstage Pass host Vince Edwards, Big Dog.
Big Dog.
What did yours say?
Mine says Biscuit Boy.
Biscuit. What did yours say, Mikey? The octopus.
The
That's
octopus.
so fucking perfect.
That's the perfect.
And then my brother said, what did he say? Rock God, I think.
Rock God.
Because he is
That's
Big Daddy,
appropriate.
you know what I mean? You got to give it to my brother.
So we've
he's
all
kind of a
been
legend.
stumped on this thing, man, for a minute.
Yeah, we're like, who?
And I'm
What?
sitting in the comments, and boom, Pat O'Doul chimes in, is like, "Did you get the package?"
Pat's a badass. Okay, I
you,
got to
guys.
give it up for Pat O'Doul. Last week he's sending in a love note about people minding their passports and dealing with that nonsense. You know, it's all torn up and not good right now. At one point, he sent me these cool ass lighters with my hideous mug on them. Anybody that knows me knows I roll Zippo all the time for decades now. They're gonna smoke, do it right like a man, you know what I mean? And so Pat hooked me up with that, and then I promptly reached back out to Pat and said, Pat, I need 2 more. so he worked it out, and I sit in the mud for it. But yeah, he's a good cat. He's one of our dear friends. He's a full-on loyal brother to the IATSE, and he's a nearby fellow. You know, he comes in and kicks it on the show, and he's
Such
just
a
good
nice
man.
guy,
Thank
dude.
you, Pat O'Doul.
Thank
We
you, brother.
appreciate you very much, man. That was very, very kind of you. You got it? You good?
Hell yeah! I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here,
I
man.
feel like I haven't been here in a minute.
Yeah. It was tough doing this without you.
Yeah, let me tell you.
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming back and getting the good foot and helping the brother out, because I'm just barely making this. So we did this again. We took this right up to the last minute. I think I sat down about 30 seconds before the TV went on.
I also wish that the audience could see, like, our surrounding truss bars used to have a metric shit ton of lights
Yeah.
on them.
Yeah, they
And it's
keep
like,
getting
cool, we
peeled
got
out.
we got our downstage edge of whites. There's fucking nothing in the house anymore.
Yeah,
and it's
we
a good sign. That means they're making money.
That's
but
one of those good problems, man. It's as it should be. In a perfect world, this gear needs to be out in the world.
Absolutely.
Putting on shows, making money, making people happy, building memories. That's really the business we're in, and that's what the gear is supposed to be doing. Listen, thanks for being here. I'm glad to have you. Couldn't do it
brother.
without you. Except for when Bernie's here, then I kind of can do it.
Yeah,
without
yeah,
you. It's
respectfully.
not the
Respectfully.
exact same. It's very, very different. He's a very surly Canadian, but I love him dearly, and we appreciate him being here. But it's nice to see you, man.
You as well, brother.
All right, my friend. Listen, I got a hell of a guest this evening. I mentioned that he's kind of flipped into position, but in no way does that make him less. This is a badass. He's a 30-year veteran in this business. He kind of can do it all. Now, a lot of people say that, but we put people on shows. I can send him out to kill it on the Mon to do some kind of audio shit, but what he really shines at, and I think he prefers, is he's a lighting designer. He's an extraordinary cat. We're very lucky to have him with us tonight, and let's just get him right out here right now. It's the one and only Hunter Pipes. Hunter, how are you, my brother? TV guy.
TV,
We're
hey
doing
Mom, I'm on TV.
Mom was probably very proud of her boy right now.
She's asleep. She's asleep.
That's what happens to most of the audience about halfway through the show. So, she just got out ahead of it. That's all that happened there. Listen, man, your career is varied and long, and you've done a lot of stuff with a lot of different folks in a lot of different ways. You mind if I bounce around a little bit in it?
Let's go.
You know, instead of ABC.
No, let's go. Let's go, yeah.
Like that. Let's
it's your show.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, and thank you for being here.
I'm glad we can work it out.
Yeah,
this couldn't have been a better day with everything else going on.
It worked out really good, and I want to thank your wife for freeing you up. And I know you're a relatively new daddy, which I know you a minute now. And I never saw that one, and so I'm really happy for you.
I didn't see it for 50 years.
Yeah.
So I'm with you.
Yeah, and from what I can gather, you're really loving the gig.
It's a hard gig, man.
Oh man, that's a barn burner for sure.
It's one of those few gigs that gives you a hug at the end of every day.
That's probably pretty priceless.
Yeah. It's no easier to wake up for.
That's the kick in the ass part. Yeah.
But yeah, that loadout goes out about 7 p.m. So
Yeah, right. Oh man, I'm about 25 years off that job, and I'm cool with it. And so, you enjoy this next 20 or so. It'll be fun. It'll be really fun for you.
It's gonna be great.
Listen, man, I think I'm gonna have to do this another way. It fascinates me. Early in your career, I think you came up through stage. Was it Stageco?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, through staging. We all make the stair step maneuvers to get to where we eventually end up. And some of the gigs that you worked on, I was talking to my brother, and he harkened back to some days with you out with, I think it was GNR and Metallica, and you guys clowning and goofing on some big-ass tour and getting up to some shit. What was it like being a rigger? Did you enjoy that work?
That was great. That was my first, really big tour.
Yeah.
The Stagecoach stuff came to America in '92. Mm-hmm. First systems that they deployed were for Genesis. Was the We Can't Dance tour.
Oh, sure.
And so at the time, I was working as a regional stagehand, just getting in my car and driving from gig to gig and doing scaff and load, if they needed extra guys on the call or whatever. And so the Genesis stuff had come to America, and the Belgian cruise, with a few Americans.
Sure.
And they needed to ramp up a little bit. And so the next thing that came in was Guns N' Roses, and I got picked up because I'd been on the Genesis stages and just bust my ass and hustle and.
Was this the Welcome to the Jungle?
Oh yeah, it was a Welcome to the Jungle for sure. For sure, I think it was like 21 years old, 22 years old.
Yeah.
This was in the days where we didn't wear climbing harnesses or fall arrests or hard hat. What's that?
OSHA what?
Yeah. So, that was a hardcore experience to just kind of be that. Suddenly, that was your first tour, and that's an Opie and Jake tour. So I'm going to pick that book up the second I leave here. Because
I'm actually in the Opie part right now, the Dale part.
I'm sure there's lots of Opie parts.
Yeah.
That guy is a legend.
He's a badass.
He is an absolute legend. If you ask me, who do you respect the most in this business?
Yeah.
Opie's on that list. Jake Berry's on that list.
Yeah.
A guy named Steve Thomas who's doing other things. Mark Fisher. There's certain guys at Hedwig who invented Stageco. Just icons. Complete Morris Lyda. Those guys just
name dropping fool. Look at you.
Well, go. No, I remember being 20 years old and in the shadows of these giants.
Yeah.
And being no, I didn't like anything more than when Opie yelled at me.
Yeah.
Because then he's paying attention.
I was just gonna say.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and I know exactly.
And we some laughs there, some good times.
To his credit, he's still in the trenches this minute. He's still doing what he does.
I don't doubt. I would be shocked if there was anything otherwise.
No, he's just such an extraordinary human being, and I really like how she was able to capture. How writers will tend to and he came up in his bro, and she kind of captures him really well. So if you already know him, if you have history with him,
I'm really looking.
I think you will enjoy this read. It's really good, and I'm creeping up on the Greg Price part of it. Yeah.
But
Opie is, you know, I think I would love to get him on the show because it's Opie.
Yeah.
You know, the vast knowledge and experience that he has. But I think the only way to get Opie is when he's not at work.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that's kind of a tall order since he's almost always at work.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Right. Dale, please. I don't think it's going to be as easy as I'd like it to be. Working with Dave Matthews Band out early now. Yeah?
No.
Really?
We had some systems with Stageco that were out with Dave Matthews, but I was not out with Dave Matthews.
Really? You need to update your resume, bro.
Okay. Really? I mean, it's probably
right there
under
at the bottom.
Stageco.
Look at it.
Yeah.
Hey, Matthews.
Yeah.
You know what?
We had tower systems for those. Basically, that's a client list
Gotcha.
for people that, you know, like we had Jimmy Buffett, we had U2, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, et cetera, et
I think
cetera.
Stones.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it was really the who's who.
Yeah, Stones, Bon
Chesney.
Jovi. But so over the years, and I've been back and forth with Stageco multiple times.
Yeah.
But those are people we're servicing, whether we're sending towers out or whatever. And so that's just kind of how I listed that as a client list. So by no means am I trying to represent that I was on tour with Dave Matthews Band.
Well, you know, when I read
Let's be real
resumes,
clear.
and I've known you for a minute, but when I read resumes, certain names jump out. There's no way for the guys that come on the show like yourself or, you know, many of the folks that have been on that I can touch on every single thing. But some names jump out because they have certain characteristics of the band or the tours and that
Right.
we know about kind of backstage talk that I kind of want to dig around in. And Dave Matthews has always fascinated me I mean, this guy puts on huge shows, but he doesn't sell a lot of albums, but he sells a lot of tickets.
He does sell a lot of tickets.
Oh my God! There's been years where Dave's been out that he's done $180 million in tickets, and that's kind of nuts. For me to get, it's like Fish. There's just these bands that just friggin' do these.
I can talk about some Fish. I can't talk too much to Dave Matthews.
Yeah. No, we'll move on. I was curious. Now, I hope I get this right. Did you LD George Lucas's wedding?
I did.
What the hell, man?
Well, I mean, the bands had their own LD.
Okay.
But basically, I was there for a week, and I really don't talk about this because I kind of thought it was just one of those things you just don't talk about.
Well, you don't have to get into
But yeah,
detail,
so I did that. I did
Whatever.
George Lucas's wedding, and that was probably the best gig. If you had to ask me, like, what are the top 5 gigs you ever did?
Yeah.
That one's definitely in it.
Oh, I have.
Because I'm a Star Wars nerd.
Sure.
My dog's name is Jedi. My wedding ring has the Jedi crest engraved on it. So it runs deep, and so definitely, yeah, amazing gig. Van Morrison,
Sure.
Janelle Monáe.
Oh, wow.
Were the
She's such a
talent,
badass.
and that is like night and day as far as what's going on the stage. You know,
yeah. Very, very different.
a who's who of who's.
Sure.
And just a big piece like Skywalker Ranches.
It's crazy.
It's a piece.
Right.
It's a piece of.
Yeah.
It's got its own vibe.
It
You
is,
pull up
it
to that
is.
gate and you
Very
get
special
yeah, you
place.
know what I mean? Yeah,
Oh,
it's an immediate respect for what's the genius that has emerged from that place.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's fascinating stuff. I always thought George Lucas's best work was, watch this, American Graffiti.
Oh my God. You just slapped him in the face.
All right, man, I'm just playing.
That's just one movie I never really got. Like it just, I couldn't tell you a single character's name from that movie.
Actually, neither could I. I remember, Ron Howard was in it, and I think
Harrison
Shirley
Ford
was in it, and Harrison Ford, sure.
But it just never it didn't resonate with me at all.
No, I was kind of just trying to get under your skin a little bit, just because it's fun. Talk to me about. Now we have a shared thing that a lot of people are not going to be able to say they've done this. Worked at Alcatraz.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, now that is. I don't know how we can explain this to the people, but that is a special, crazy circumstance.
It is one of a kind.
Oh my goodness, what was your experience?
I was
like
there for. I remember because it was my birthday.
Oh wow!
It was like we were doing the King of the Rock or Rock the Rock or something on the Rock. It has to have the
MTV's
Rock
King
in
of the Rock baseball on Alcatraz.
Basketball.
Basketball. Excuse me. Baseball would be fun.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like street ball, and the Alcatraz. It was in the prison yard.
Yeah.
And so the only way in or out of that prison yard is through a door that's like 4 feet high, 5 feet high by, 32 inches maybe if you're lucky.
Right.
And then a metric shit ton of stairs,
stairs,
to the
man.
concrete. And,
Fucking stairs.
you know, that's one thing, but we had access to the hospital, the showers, and you know, like all of these places that the tourists don't go.
Yeah.
And so we spent a lot of time putting lights and stuff in weird places and just absorbing the energy there. And it's a real I could, yeah.
There's
I mean,
some ghosts in those.
I went to do the dummy check.
Yeah.
And
Solo?
Yeah.
Oh, I had
I
a
turned
tingle
around.
going on.
I got it barely past the entrance. You know, like
Yeah.
the only person in the cell block.
Sure.
And I was just like, no thanks.
Yeah. It's
You
a
know,
little,
do you believe in
little-
ghosts? Yeah, maybe.
Well, you know, I'm not sure if I believe or disbelieve, but I'll tell you what, you find yourself wondering in that moment because some creaking and crawling and weird shit's happening, and that the history of that place, you know, and it's 100 plus years, probably close to 140 years of history there, and you know all kinds of interesting shenanigans taking on. I always found it was the weather that kicked my ass, let alone the ins and outs, but just the weather, man.
It's a unique climate there.
Oh, buddy.
But I spend every morning, pretty much every morning, or at least 5 days a week, staring at Alcatraz where I run the dog. So I often think about that, and I often think what it was like to live there. Just last weekend, they had the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon, and I look at it all the time, and I think, I couldn't swim that.
Yeah, it's a sketchy swim, but you know, so many people successfully do this every year, proving the California prison system completely wrong. That it is absolutely doable.
Oh, it's doable.
And
yeah.
there's, I think it's called I think they were
my
called
old
the
ass,
Anglin
though.
brothers that did that. The escapees, the ones that escaped that the prison system said, they got eaten up by sharks. They went straight to the bottom. I will never believe that that's true. I believe.
They got out.
They got the hell out.
They
and
got
they
out.
kept their heads down, and they did what they needed to do. Yeah, that's an impressive as hell. Let me jump over to this weird thing. And a lot of people wouldn't think I'd be down with this, but band you worked with that I found a little fascinating, and you know, kind of a badass band. ABC. Did you work ABC?
Done a bunch of shows with them.
Yeah, they're a fun band.
It's,
Not your thing.
I like the British pop. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't
Holds down its own lane, kind of, doesn't it?
Those shows, they're cool. You know, it's like they have their place in time.
Yeah, sure.
I think if I remember correctly, that band actually played the hit twice.
What, Poison Arrow?
Yes, I think they opened and
Or
closed with
Millionaire.
it. You know,
Yeah.
It might have been Millionaire.
Yeah,
But
that'd be a Millionaire.
but something about that was like, because isn't the lead singer named Martin?
He is named Martin. Yes.
Yeah. So I remember shows like that. You know,
Sure.
that are kind of unique. And I've done a lot of bands like The Fix.
The Fix, really good.
And the names escape me now.
Depressed Mode, that type of stuff.
No, not so much that, but some of the more the poppy stuff.
I'm with you though. I understand what you're saying. When I was doing my prep on this,
English Beat. Yeah, there we go.
I
There's
actually worked
my
with
brain
Beat for
stops.
about 3.5 years. The drummer in that band was so fucking good. Some of the beats he would lay down, a lot of fun. The English Beat are always an incredibly fun show, and they're still doing it.
I know.
They're still out there mortgage touring the hell out of that thing, and they got a great catalog of fun songs. Particularly that first album was the Twist and Crawl album, in the Bathroom album. That was a lot of fun. I've always been a little harder edge kind of guy as it relates to listen to, but I don't give a shit if it makes my hips start moving. I don't care what you're doing in the backstage. I don't care who you're loving on. I don't care what category you're in. If you make that happen, I'm in.
Right.
And Poison Arrow for me was like that. I think I was pretty deep in the Slayer world at that point, and Poison Arrow came out and it just struck me.
It's funny that you mentioned this because I got so fired. The highlight of my day today was somebody playing Haircut 100 in the shop.
Classic.
And it was like, it was either Love Plus One or...
Great song.
Was it Love Plus One? I don't know.
It was probably Kyle Laser.
Yeah, it was just, it was like, this capsule in time of sound.
It's a little time machine-y,
that
isn't
doesn't,
it?
yeah,
It kind of just pop in and like, wow, it's 1986.
Yeah.
It's a thing. I had that a couple times a day when I
late
was,
80s to the early 90s, there was some unique stuff going on.
I somehow or another took myself from the ABC thing, and it made me think and I put in Dark Homers
Yeah,
are.
that was on too. That was on too. That was right
me.
in this whole thing. Yeah,
That was Dark Homers
I
are.
saw alles klar, and I'm like, I don't speak German.
Yeah, I know the lyrics, don't know what they're saying. But we have the Pat in here, the Swiss guy, and Swiss folks speak a bit of German. And so he was kind of interpreting for me, although I didn't want him
I mean,
to.
I can sing it to you in English, but that's
Well, actually,
right.
I do have the English version.
Right,
It's
right.
hard to get your hands on it, but it does exist. But, you know, there was some classic 80s stuff, seminal stuff. Let me ask you about another artist I believe you worked with, because he's going out, John Legend. You got any tips for this guy with John Legend?
I couldn't tell you. That was a long time ago. That was like we did some shows.
Days.
We did. He came into the Independent actually, and started a tour there. And man, I have a lot of respect for that guy. A lot of
extraordinary
respect.
talent.
I mean, I remember, you know, this was like 15 years ago, so he was kind of new, you know, and it was like, oh, okay, we got a piano coming in. That was a small stage, and the second he sat down, you just knew. And like there were people on the crew that were, I remember because specifically they had like all new wireless. Sennheiser dropped off all this stuff, and they were pulling, you know, cardboard boxes are stacking up, and and we're just trying to help everybody get their job done, you know, and then it was time for sound check, and you just knew.
Well, you know, I think he was supported early on by some of the powers that be, like you mentioned, Sennheiser, and it was very, very well equipped to come out and do what he does. And he carries it with a certain kind of panache and class. He's a very singular artist. You know, he operates in a lane that is kind of John Legend lane. That's not really shared by many.
No, that's a really good description.
Yeah,
I would say I would agree with you that.
Yeah, extraordinarily talented. You mentioned the Independent. Now, Independent, for people that don't know any better, in San Francisco, this is probably one of the most gigged venues in the city. Got a lot of history there?
That place has been a venue before the dawn of time, I think.
They were cave rocking in there.
The back patio has it's a quarter note is laid in the pad, and it used to be a blues club, and then I think it was the Blue Note or something back in the 50s or 60s, and then it was a paint warehouse, but then it's been the Kennel Club in the
Saw a lot of punk rock shows
80s,
there.
90s, into the 2000s. Then it was the Crash Palace, and there was one other incantation before the Independent.
Yeah.
And then the Independent came and changed the game.
I would say that's true. Yeah.
Alan Scott and the Another Planet folks changed the game with that room.
It's an exciting place. Like I mentioned, back in the 80s, you mentioned, we used to go there quite frequently. You know, Black Flag, Circle Jerks, TSOL, all those guys would come through, and it was almost a mandatory stop. You know, was that the on Broadway or the Mabuhay?
The Stone on Broadway.
Well, the Stone was owned by the Coronas, if you remember, Bobby Corona Sr. and Jr., and they were the management for Eddie and the Tide, which is one of the first bands that George and I worked together with. And so we used to have to go into that. We'd want to get paid. We'd do 3 or 4 gigs, and we'd go to the Stone, and we'd kind of be kicking it, waiting for Bobby to come down from the stuff. Man, that place was
my first visit to San Francisco. We were with Guns N' Roses and Metallica.
Yeah.
And we were playing Day on the Green.
Big show.
And we were, when you're staging, you're in the market for a week. So we decided, it was me and one of my good friends, an Australian guy named Graham, and a Belgian guy named Luke, and we took the car from the airport hotel to the Stone to see the Bullet Boys.
Tip on Broadway.
In '92, and I remember scoring some weed and like, this is great. I'm 20 years old. I'm in San Francisco.
In the big city.
And this was amazing, you know. And I had a video camera. I still have the videotape of my first drive across the Bay Bridge, and I turned on like the polarized filter and started talking about the movie Wolfen. I don't know if you remember.
I do remember Wolfen.
Albert Finney.
Absolutely. I'm kind of a fan of anything Albert Finney.
So yeah, we're just like there's memories of that that are etched in my mind. And then I didn't move here until maybe '94, I guess.
Yeah.
And the Stone was kind of gone at that point, and some things had changed. The earthquake had happened, and the freeway had fallen and whatnot. But
Barcadero went down.
oh yeah. but you know, I was sold on the San Francisco from that point. And then when I moved here, I've been here for 30 some years, and
Well, you've done good by me. I mean, that's, you know, for guys like us who've been around, been to a lot of big cities, there's something just special about San Francisco. It's just different than other big cities. It's a big little city.
it is. It's an interesting place. And I'm reading a book right now actually called The End of the Golden Gate.
Oh.
And it's writers all talking about their experience in leaving and loving San Francisco.
Yeah.
Because it might be time for a change.
For you?
It may be.
Really?
So
How does Mama feel about that?
she thinks it might be time for a
Is
change.
it just the nickels, or because I thought the city was
I
getting a
think
little more
I think
civilized?
I've got a baby.
Yeah,
And want to have good schools. And I want to, and not that the schools aren't good here or whatever. That just there's too much unsureness, and and I just think it might be time to, you know, there's family issues, and you want to be close to your grandparents and your aunts and uncles, and so, you know, I don't know, but
it's very reasonable. Those thoughts are very reasonable.
But
very
San Francisco
parental.
itself is this magnet of just, you know, even when you hate it, you hate to think about leaving it.
Yeah,
I've never lived any place as dynamic in my life.
That's a great word. That is a great word for San Francisco. It is extremely dynamic. The only thing that even comes close in my mind is, well, maybe two, is Manhattan.
Oh, absolutely.
And Chicago.
That's the Manhattan sets the bar for dynamic.
Yeah. Manhattan and Chicago come real close, but I still favor. Maybe it's just a hometown bias, but I still, there's just something special about San Francisco that I don't think I could go and live there. I did in the early days, but I get what you're saying, but I wouldn't want to be too far from it.
Yeah.
I'd like to go, do my thing, and then drive back to civilization, to slightly calmer things. Do you have any idea where your kids might be thinking about relocating? You're not talking out of state, are you?
Oh, you know, the word Florida came up at one point.
Oh, come on. Come on.
I think
No.
I'm just hear me out. I said it came up. I didn't say I'm like, you know, like.
I'm sorry. You could have said Nebraska, and I'd give you less blowback.
Well, you know, I mean, my family's in Kentucky. That came up too.
Yeah.
I think something that makes more sense if I'm going to leave San Francisco is maybe Los Angeles, or LA area.
Great work opportunities.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You can take the guy off the stage, but you can't take the stage out of the, whatever. You know, what's the euphemism?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're saying.
You know what I'm trying to say.
I do.
TV people know what I mean.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, there's got to be some access to gigs.
Well, LA's great for opportunity. It's a little rougher living style wise, but there's, you know, all the Inland Empire
there's
parts
family
of it.
there. There's family there, and there's family here, but not the same.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
And it's a really, people in San Francisco are doing so many other things too that they don't always have time for each other.
That's true.
So it's part of that dynamic shuffle.
Well, I hope you guys land well on that, and whatever you end up, we're going to still be reaching out to you to pull you into shows and, you know, milk you for your expertise, because, you know.
Can you milk me?
Well, mine you?
Yeah.
Whatever the right words are. I'm just trying to be honest.
Okay.
When you need the best, you reach out to the best for wherever their zip code is. I don't give a shit. That's what they made planes for. Just come on. You know, so all right, brother. You know, you've done quite a bit of stuff between the different shops. You know, Delicate. You worked with back. There was a time when my brother ran Delicate Productions. Did a lot of good shows with those guys. Of course, you've worked for us here at Sound Image. Done some big shows.
Try and work for everybody. You know.
Yeah,
that's the way to do it. For me, what works for me is, if I work for lots of people, nobody gets too much of me. Yeah. So they
can't
don't
get
burn
too
out.
possessive.
No, they don't burn out, because I'm a difficult person. I have a unique.
I love that you are willing to admit that.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, you don't. You people. There are no normal people in this business.
That's pretty true.
Okay, normal's not.
Yeah.
Just not. If we were normal, we wouldn't be in this business.
That's true.
So
it's a bunch of misfit toys.
I honestly feel that the more I can spread myself around and do good work consistently for people and do things that I'm excited about,
sure,
that everybody wins. You know, and I think you guys are really good about spreading the work around too, because certain designers are better for certain gigs.
It's as simple
and
as that.
certain attitudes are better for certain shows and certain experience. It just, and you're real good about farming it out that way.
Yeah. Well, I'll give the credit on that one to my brother. I deal with a lot of the booking for as it relates to preps and restores, and
No, it's just, you know,
he
in
has a
general, as
better
an
understanding.
overall kind of thing, it just and it has to be that way, because otherwise you get locked into a certain way, or you close your mind to someone else's ideas, or you limit your ability to deliver, because you may not have all the information about the newest and the best and the technique, or what you know. It's and that's how I learned. Go to different production companies, and everyone's got you know, here's an Anya
Different
rig, and
approach,
here's
different gear.
an MLA rig, and here's a K2 rig, and
that's right.
You know, it's better for everybody.
Yeah, well, you know, we do try to bring in some fresh blood from time to time. You just worked with a guy we brought in recently who I swear to God, if I had 10 of him, we'd be unstoppable. Rob Robertson, what do you think about that?
A plus.
What a guy, right?
A plus.
What the hell?
A plus.
I've never seen a guy more amenable to getting along with everybody and knows his shit backwards and forwards. He's just a treat.
One of my favorite things about Rob is you'll never hear him tell you no.
He doesn't do no, does he?
He doesn't do no.
Yeah, he's extraordinary. I can't say
Yes,
enough.
you can. Yes, we can. Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. Have an immense amount of respect for Rob. I've learned quite a bit of my trade craft from Rob.
Yeah, he's extraordinary.
You know, he worked at the Independent for a long, long time, and was always there for question and answer and stuff. As
his approach is.
I was thrilled when I found out he had joined up with you guys. I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. We're very, very, very happy to have him on board. I mean, he's still a very loyal member to IATSE, and he takes that stuff first, you know. But my God, we're just really fortunate.
He holds a torch for his old gigs, as we all do.
More power to him, and we recognize and support that, and we take him where he's available, you know. And we've been very lucky that he has had some availability in the last, I would say month or two. And, you know, we had some big gigs going in and out, and it's been really nice to have him in the mix, because just what a leveling, stabling force. It's just extraordinary. You've done a bunch of big stuff for us. I know we tend to throw you at the big stuff, you know, the Genentech things, the big stadium things. What's it like doing the Genentech stuff? You know, Stevie Wonder, Seal, that type of thing.
That's just another gig.
I know, right?
The Seal thing was more fun.
I enjoyed the shit out of Seal.
I mean, you know, that was like a weird, unique gig. It was like I think that was a fundraiser or something.
Yeah.
And, it was like, here's a bunch of lights and a tent.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, Seal's going to play with an orchestra and do some whatever 40s hits or something. I don't even remember.
It's kind of one of a kind.
Oh yeah, just do your thing. You know, like it was great. It was super fun.
Oh, yeah.
And Stevie Wonder, I mean, Stevie.
It's fucking Stevie Wonder.
But that's a gig. It's a you know, there's a stage there. There's sticks that go up. There's you know, that's a. I don't take it as. It becomes a disconnect because it's just a gig. You know, there's the LDs there.
Sure.
The shows there. It's and it's funny because I've seen Stevie multiple times.
Me too.
But I keep thinking I've never seen him.
Well,
does that make sense?
It does.
I'm like, oh wait, I did a show with him here. I saw him there. I saw him there, and
that's the magic of Stevie, though.
Oh, for sure.
He can make it new for you.
Yeah.
And I think he has to do that for him as well, because this is a man that's been doing this since he was called Little Stevie Wonder. I mean, this is a 50-year career of excellence. I mean, the songs, the album, what is it? The songs written in the
Songs of the Key of Life.
The Key of Life. That is an extraordinary album. That is one of the seminal albums. That's right there with like Pet Sounds. You know, that's extraordinary freaking album. And just one of the nicest guys ever. And I've done a batch of shows with him as well. And you're not wrong. It's always fresh and new and just exciting. And, you know, he's kind of a national treasure in many ways.
Man, for sure.
You know? I mean,
for sure.
We are so lucky to be blessed with so many.
It's like you say his name and suddenly songs just start popping in your head. You're like, you know.
Just kind of talk about getting that wiggle going, you know?
Well, and Stevie's got a sound that those synth sounds that
he's a
70s
master.
stuff, man. Yeah, I'm like you hear that bass line to Boogie on Reggae Woman, and you're
Oh
just
man,
like,
it's so good.
you know, if it had a move, it would be like this. It's just
The wiggle.
Yeah, a wiggle.
Yeah, you're so not wrong, man. No, he is one of a kind. Any special challenges or that's the wrong word. Special techniques you need to incorporate, or in the lighting game when you do somebody like Dave Chappelle when you're doing a stand-up.
Don't do
artist.
anything. Don't do anything.
It's pretty straightforward. Huh?
I mean, I did a Dave Chappelle show, and it just was like he did a thing where he went for 6-7 hours.
Jeez.
They closed the doors, and basically, once you walk out the door, you're
done.
gone. You're done.
Yeah.
And he's mining for jokes and whatever.
He's just riffing.
And just riffing, and so we just set a backdrop and just leave it. And I remember sitting there for hours, and then he made some comment, and I couldn't take it anymore, and I just kind of hit a go switch or something maybe, you know, and changed it just a little bit.
Yeah.
And he noticed it, and he riffed on it for a few minutes, and it was a cool way to kind of break the ice, but with those kinds of things, not so much. You know, I work with Gabriel Iglesias.
Sure.
And that
That's,
was
Fluffy.
Fluffy, yeah, Fluffy.
Yeah.
That's, you know, that show was way more flashbang, lots of walk-ons, walk-offs. And
Sure.
Most comedy, set a look, walk away, maybe a bally for the walk-on and the walk-out, but less is more unless they want it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we did a Bo Burnham special,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
and that was
that was for Netflix. I believe,
yeah. And Anders, I don't know if you know Anders Kasparovics, but he was the designer, and that's cue to cue, probably 160 cues
Damn.
of just to work with this guy's comedy because of his physical routines and his musical cuts, you know. And I think he won an Emmy or is up for an Emmy for his new special that he made during the COVID pandemic.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
I started watching. It's kind of dark.
It's not that single thing where the guy's kind of in his house.
Oh, yeah, that's
I
him.
fucking loved the shit out of that. It was so weird. Then he starts singing, and it was really, that was intense. That was very clever. Very clever. It's not for everybody, I would say.
He's a genius, that guy.
I watched it, and I immediately wanted to call my Betty and say, honey, you gotta watch this. Because she's down at the house in Monterey, and I'm up here during the week. But then I thought, I don't think, as clever as it was, and I think she would get that. I don't think she would think it was funny, or I don't think it would have caught her attention, because I think it's a very specific,
it's extremely narrow genre of comedy.
Yeah, but
enthusiasts,
man, that was really well done. I think that is up for Emmys. I know that for a fact.
I need to go back and finish it. I couldn't finish it. I was and the time I turned it on, I was not in the best of my own mindset.
Oh,
so
sure. You got to come to it kind of.
Like, I wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, what was his name again, please?
Bo Burnham.
Bo Burnham. This is on Netflix, guys. I can't say this enough. It's a kind of a one-man show. He's kind of in his house. It's bizarre in a really good way. It's very, very clever. He kind of will be talking, and then he just break into song, and lights will come on, and I don't know how to explain this thing.
Yeah,
but
I don't know how he did it all. And he shot it himself.
Yeah,
I mean, it's next level.
It is fully next level. He's got a technical savvy. He's got a mind like a steel trap, and he's got this unique take on shit. And it was really well realized. I mean, really well, technically well realized, felt well filmed, and content-wise. It was clever. It's a thinker. That's a thing. And musically, he's actually got a pretty good voice, and he can play music pretty well.
Yeah. I know
I found myself kind of being in awe of that thing, because I was like, damn, this guy's this is a triple threat, at minimum triple.
Yeah, the first time I did this show with him, I had no idea who he was or anything. And the next thing I know, well, we're taping this for TV, and here's a shitload of cues. Let's go. It was this kind of like, wow, and I saw the show 3 or 4 times, as we were rehearsing, and I was like, what an interesting mind. What a, because I'm a comedy maniac, but it's a different kind of comedy.
He's on his, I would call him, again, singular. He's kind of doing his own thing. I can't really compare him. He's not Lenny Bruce. He's not. No, for sure. There's another Bo Burnham.
He's
doing his own thing, but he does it really well.
That's an interesting.
Well, there wasn't a stupid moment in that thing. It was very clever.
No, and I think that's one of the things I like about music is I like the bands that nobody else sounds like.
Jellyfish.
Nobody says, well, like, yeah, nobody ever gets compared to Genesis.
No.
You know?
Well, they kind of own their own lane.
You know, like those, there are certain things that just don't sound like anything else.
Yeah.
And
there used to be a show on MTV called Unclassified just for this. It was like a midnight on a Tuesday or some weird shit. And Jellyfish, the guys at Jellyfish used to have
remember that
hold
band.
that thing down. And Jellyfish, who I was listening to earlier this week, was some uninitiated folks. So when you get Jellyfish up in your grill, especially at the levels I tend to listen to stuff, people were tripping balls. They didn't know what to do with it. They're like, well, feeling a little Beatles meets Beach Boys meets
creamy Beatles.
Yeah, they're extraordinary. And when you say, well, who's Jelly? What do they like? Where do they land? They land in Jellyfish.
Yeah, totally.
They just do Jellyfish. There is no comparison.
What do they sound like?
They sound like fucking Jellyfish. It's just that simple. It's a really rare thing to be able to say that. I know you've done a lot of production stuff in TV. Obviously, like we've mentioned throughout the whole show, a lot of stuff in the live realm. Challenges, differences between them? Do you have a preference? Do you prefer to do the broadcast work over the live?
No.
You're more of a live guy?
Let's do live rock shows, and let's do work with bands that. I'm about to sneeze.
Got you.
I got it. I'm good.
All right.
Don't look at the light. The TV is there's too many other people involved. There's too many, it's got to be right for camera. It's got to be, you got to color temperature blue, and got to get just all that side of it. And I'd rather this one take rock show, less of Q to Q stuff. I like to work with where I can busk.
I'm with you.
And just. Like you said, you're creating memories. So
absolutely.
I want that side of it as opposed to I got to bring everything down 50% for the cameras, and we need a bunch of key lights, and the audience is like, why is it so bright in here? Because we're filming a special, and it's like even here I'm just.
It's ridiculous.
It's pretty.
Not fun.
But it's a necessary. Part of the deal, and so you can't do you want to have a really good show, or do you want to have a good show?
That reminds me, since I don't need to be doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, it gets better so quick. You want to borrow some glasses? They're going right there.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Listen, man. I'm not joking when I say I really appreciate you being on the show tonight. We talked before the show started. I've always been fascinated with the way you roll. You carry yourself in a unique way. I always like that you push back and you state your mind and you know what you want, what your preferences are. And I've never been able. I can rattle motherfuckers. People know this about me. My brother too. And I've never been able to rattle you. I mean, we bounced, I think, bumped into each other a couple times through the years in a kind of get the work done kind of way.
The bottom line is you got to respect each other.
Absolutely.
Like, you know what I mean? You got to have a healthy rapport with people.
Yes, sir.
You have to understand where you stand. Yeah. I understand. I mean, if I ever am too big for my britches, I feel like people will let me know. But. I mean, because
I've never seen you step out past that way.
I try not to.
You insist.
I try not to.
You're insistent about your way. If you got a way and somebody's trying to mad dog you into another way, you'll stand your ground. And I've always respected.
I look at it this way. I know what works for me.
Yeah.
I'm willing to listen to what works for you, and if we can come to terms and it makes sense, let's do it. I'm all for whatever, where everybody wins.
Sure.
Because there's too much of this us against them and that kind of stuff, and just in general, like, how do we make this a success?
Yeah.
I could say, it's just that's the thing, and like if you ask me to design something, then you've asked me to design something.
Yes.
And you've asked me to give you this,
to you.
And then when you come back and say, well, I trust you, and then suddenly you don't trust me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you know that I'm not happy. You know what I mean? Like, and I've been in that situation where artist said, "I fully trust what your vision is here." And then we get to the show day, and I'm just focusing and using white light, and would never use white light with this band because we talked about the fact that was not going to happen. And the guy went insane, you know, because I was
Name
like,
names. Don't
no,
name names.
but I just was like, I'm using my tool right now to get everything right so that when it's not white, it's in the right place.
Exactly.
You know, and it was this really, I was rattled, you know, and I had to be someone I really don't like to be.
Yeah.
Which was much more fun to have someone rattle me and just rattle back, or
Yeah.
you know, when we all realize, hey, we're here to make this gig happen. We're here to make these memories. Like, I'm going to walk out with that as my kind of mantra for the week, you know, where I always say my slogan, and I stole this from a band, is my intent is for your delight.
Not bad. Not bad.
And if you put that without sacrificing your own needs, if you put that out for people, I want you to be happy, I want you to be vibing, you're going to win.
Yeah, you're
almost every time.
Yeah, it's I think the larger goal, at least, you know, we try for, is everybody gets their needs met, but sometimes some are going to stick out a little farther and have more prominence in that ideal. And that's a win, you know, when you can pull that off, especially with all the different departments and all the different things going on any given large rock show. But still maintain your perspicacity, your sense of self, what you are, the way you see yourself, the way I think the key word there was vision. And I think with lighting directors and designers, this is a critical part of who you are. I think you guys see you're a little bit more artists in some ways, you know. I mean, it's a strong word, but I think
I agree. I actually can't draw a straight line with a pencil and a ruler.
Me and you both.
But I can make some pretty things.
Oh,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? Like I can. Yeah. And I'm a pretty harsh critic of things, so I feel like if I look at something I did and I'm really happy with it, it's okay, you know.
I can attest.
And
You've done
not
some amazing shit.
I'm not a pat myself on the back kind of guy as much as a.
Let us do it.
Well, yeah, you guys are good at that. It feels good.
Yeah.
But you know, so I guess I'm my own worst critic, and people can talk me up to and say stuff, and I absolutely can't stand it. It drives me nuts.
Well, then let me take over here and say that's why the quality of your work and the level of your professionalism and the way you work is, and why you keep getting the calls. That's because you are good like that, and I think it's probably good that you keep your head straight so you don't get it a little bit too hard to get you through doorways and such.
It was there. It got there for a while.
Hey,
there was some time.
That's
there was some
youth.
time.
Yeah, we know.
You know, but you learn from those lessons.
Absolutely.
You know, and you get knocked down and you realize you maybe don't know as much as you think, or whatever. And it's like I still think about things years later that went wrong, or didn't go wrong, but the perception of somebody else is that it went wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I got dogged for being an hour and a half late on a call. Well, it wasn't me.
No.
It was someone else. I would fire myself if I was an hour and a half late for a call.
Yeah.
But I'm still processing that a year and a half later, going,
I want you to let that bail down. I got real ones. Like I dropped a 10 at front of house on Rob Trujillo and his wife at Outside Lands, and I still have nightmares about that. Still, while Mars Volta's playing. So Mars Volta's right there, Rob Trujillo right here. You know, bass player for Ozzy, Metallica, and so on. And yeah, that was a bad night. But yeah, I understand. These are things that you can't go out and put yourself out there for 1,000 shows over your career and not have some moments like that.
Oh, for sure.
It's just a thing. Listen, man, I can't say this enough. Thank you for coming in and rescuing the show, being a brother, being a professional, being the guy that you are. We love you here and respect the shit out of you. You're a badass at what you do, and thank you so much for
My
coming
pleasure.
on.
Thanks for having me.
Sharing your stories with our people. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, of course.
See you soon. I know that. All right, pal. Well, let's see. I told
What
you.
a nugget you got,
I
man.
know. And he's like a natural. I might have to ask him if he wants to guest host.
I think you should.
He's really good at this.
You're gonna have to fight it out with Bernie.
All right. Well, we'll put him in a pit and see what happens. But that was lovely, and I really appreciate Hunter Pipes coming on this evening. He's a badass lighting designer, and I can't say enough about him. If you guys are looking for an LD, big bands, big shows, Hunter Pipes. Listen, man, I'm really glad you came back in, that you're doing well, and that you got this upcoming adventure. We're going to really be happy for you when you're out there doing your thing, and it will also be nice to just get you out of the building.
Yeah.
I love you very much, but I think we could use a little break. Just joking. I want you to go have fun, and we're going to miss you next week. And, we'll be thinking about you. If there's anything we can do while you're out on the road, please reach out.
It's very kind of you, brother. Thank you.
Love you, man. Thank you for being here. Listen, I know I say this every week, but you guys got 1,000 choices. You can be all different kinds of places. This world has got opportunities and offerings galore, especially with the internet. And you come here and you hang out with us. We appreciate it very much. Give us one more chance at it. Next week, we're going to have the one and only Bobby Schneider. This is Metallica's PM. He's Kendrick Lamar. The list is too long. He's a badass. He's got a unique take on the world. He's going to be sitting right over there. He's going to be here with Bernie Broderick as co-host. We're going to have some fun. We do this every single Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here. Thanks for being here on the Backstage Pass with my dear, dear good friend Kyle Thomas and myself, Vince Edwards. We will see you again next week. Until then, behave, be good. Good night.